Do you wake up in the morning and go to bed at night with intrusive thoughts and images about your partner's past, about their romantic relationships, whether that was committed relationships or casual encounters? If so, you might be struggling with what is called retroactive jealousy. Hi, this is Noemi. So let's talk about what you can do when you obsessively think about things that might not even have happened. But even if they have happened, you probably intellectually know the past doesn't matter. It's it's inconsequential, right? Uh, in so far as it's it's not a it's not like real jealousy where there is a threat to your relationship. So there is a third person who you recognize that might actually come between the two of you. So it is the past. They might have contact with their ex. They might not even have contact with their ex. It's just the fact that somehow you feel that maybe the uniqueness, the specialness of your current relationship is threatened. And this is very normal. In fact, there has been a scientific study about it in 2019 with Frampton, who saw that compared to normal jealousy, what really predicts retroactive jealousy is is that people feel that somehow their specialness, the uniqueness of their current relationship is threatened by the partners. And of course, this is all about how we conceptualize things, how we think about things, and what expectations we have of the relationships. Now, one thing to say immediately is that everybody has the right to think about things the way they want to, as long as they don't harm somebody else or they don't harm themselves. That's also an important consideration. So if for you, because of religious reasons or cultural reasons or whatever reason, the most important thing is to be with somebody who didn't have, for instance, sexual encounters or doesn't have a romantic past, that's okay. But then again, then your responsibility is to find somebody who actually has not had such. So basically, what would be impossible then is to enter a relationship with somebody who clearly, explicitly tells you that they have had romantic relationships, and then kind of trying to change that reality by either punishing them or by struggling and suffering. Yeah, so it's very important. So, what I want to say here is that it's very important to understand what your expectations are, what your thoughts about things are, what your values are, and then make romantic choices based on that. Now, of course, we don't actually, so falling in love, for instance, is not a rational thing. We don't really choose who we fall in love with, but we do choose who we actually spend our life with, who we, as Esther Perel talks about this, the life story and love story. So we can have many love stories, but out of all these love stories, we might not want to have a life story with everybody. We might not want to spend our life with somebody, have a family with, basically have a longer trajectory or even a lifelong trajectory with everybody that we might have actually a casual relationship with. So one thing so if you know that you have certain expectations, then it is important to enter into even the dating scene with these questions. Okay, so this is exactly what I want. So I'm going to look for the partner who actually has these things. But make sure that this is based on values rather than fears, and make sure that these are based on your own values. rather than have been passed down to you. Yes, it might not stand any on any legs anymore. It might not be something that is is realistic to have, or it might not be important anymore. So when this is one thing to do, so basically this is what I want, and then I'm not going to delude myself by choosing somebody who doesn't have those attributes or who has a different past and then basically suffer. That's one thing. Now, a lot of people who actually have retroactive jealousy have these ideas that uniqueness and specialness, but it's they want to be with their partner and they know consciously that this doesn't make any sense. They know that this is just absurd, which is, yes, it's irrational. Our fears are irrational. So, but they don't know how to stop the pain nonetheless. So if you are in this situation, then I would say the most important thing is to realize first and foremost, again, what it is that might be behind it. So I talk a lot about this because this is an internal issue. It has nothing to do with our partner. So if our partner is supportive and loving and rather than manipulative or so they just have a past which is normal. Now most of us, if not all of us, have a past, and that's how we enter a relationship. And then if that relationship turns out to be something that we want a life story from, then we stay in that, nurture it, and grow with it. Of course, retroactive jealousy can come in the way, whether through you, through your partner. So in that case, you want to really look into it, not through what your thoughts make you think, that it is their past, that it is what they have done, how could they have done it? And yes, it can get to the extent that you feel disgusted by your partner, which then probably generates a lot of shame because you know that's not the way you want to feel about them. And then it might generate self-disgust as well, basically thinking that how can I even think about such things? So it's kind of, it can spiral into many, many bad things. So, and you cannot solve it by interrogating your partner, by learning more about their past. It's, this is just not, the mind actually tells you that it's probably what you might need. So a lot of people do this. So go into it, and if you do that, it is it is a natural thing because we you might have actually learned that if you talked about it, interrogated them, and then they felt bad about it, you might have got a little bit of relief. And this can become a conditioning. You might be conditioning, teaching yourself, training yourself to do it again and again. But unfortunately, this just creates a cycle of I feel this way, and then or I have these intrusive thoughts and images. I feel this way, there's this behavior, there's a little bit of relief, and then the cycle starts again. So, what you want is to break out of that cycle, and you cannot break out of it by making it about your partner. You can only break out of it by bringing it home, coming back to this is an issue I am struggling with. It might be an insecurity, it might be my expectations that are outdated, that are somebody else's expectations. It might be the fact that I have a an anxious attachment style. By the way, when I say attachment style, it doesn't mean, yes, we talk about um, so if you don't have a secure attachment style, it doesn't mean that you can't have it. Yes, you can actually have it. So with therapy and interventions, that is something I help with, you can actually uh, come back to a secure attachment style, even if you developed, for instance, a lot of people do it in their childhood, they somehow didn't connect or their caregiver didn't connect to them appropriately. So it can lead to insecure attachment styles, such as anxious attachment style. Um, and that is connected. This has also been studied that it is connected with retroactive jealousy. It doesn't have to be, but it in some cases it is. So basically, coming back home, and the attitude is, and I really, really want to encourage you to have this attitude that people change, you can change. This is not a life sentence. This is something that you can overcome. Yeah, this is something that you can overcome, whether you have been left, whether you have been rejected, whether you have anxious attachment style, whether you have thoughts and values that no longer serves you. All of this can change, and they don't even have to take an enormous amount of time. So, for instance, when we are working on it, uh, in a way of conscious and unconscious way, the way I like to work, as well as bring in the somatic element, then it it can change sometimes incredibly rapidly. But the important thing is not how long it takes. The important thing for you is to realize that this doesn't have to be your reality, but it won't change by you knowing more about their past or by stalking their partners or by thinking about this, nor will it change by hoping it will go away or by usually by going giving up on this relationship and starting a new one, because this is usually a pattern. Basically, it's you go into another relationship and after a while it starts again, because this is not about a person. It is about something within our